What's up guys, Johnson here, and today I have another ranked gameplay for you guys. This is a dual ranked gameplay alongside my friend Radio K, who's playing as Edith jungle, and I'm playing as Yu Zhong on experienced lane. It's very exciting. We're going to figure out team composition. So we have a very tanky lineup right here with Edith in the jungle and myself as a tanky sizeable Yu Zhong. We have Melissa as this, as well as Xavier filling out our composition. Pretty balanced in terms of damage as well as defensive offense, so our composition is looking quite good. Enemy team has quite a beefy stack as well. They have Belmont as well as Akai, beefy frontliners. They have a mage Kagra, very mobile, good burst from range. Alpha is a siler, decent siler, but I don't think he's kind of good enough into Yu Zhong especially. And then they have Mythic as a marksman, very scary late game, but early game should be no problem for us. So composition wise, I would say both teams are rather evenly matched. We have pretty decent sustain into late game, so does the enemy as well. But I would say the key target for me, and that's kind of my job, right? We can't have a reliable engage with Edith because of the throw. It hits one person, and if the enemy team plays it right, Edith is not going to be able to do it. So here I just decided to go all in with my Petrify, so I get my first bound to Alpha, right? So he doesn't stand a chance with laning, and he didn't really play it right, so he kind of lost out. In this case, when you're behind, when you don't really win lane, you can try and just win. Here you can see Belmont wants to go on to me, and Edith comes along, right? Stacking passive just kind of wins. He thinks he can just get out. And the thing about Yu Zhong is sometimes you might be in a bad spot, but you have to persist in some ways, because stacking that little bit more passive, if you think you can make it, might be better than actually trying to back off, right? So my friend Edith has me come along once again, so we can look for the knockup. Knockup comes in, saving my jump for later, and we do manage to get a kill. So with a lot of crowd control on our team, you can just kind of space it out to make sure that it doesn't get dodged all at once, and also you don't end up missing out your skills as often. So clearing out the side lane basically means that we're good enough to take turtle. Of course, Belmont comes in and does Belmont things, right? So yeah. Also, what you notice in this case actually was the Xavier was preoccupied trying to do with the Kagra. Ideally, what you'll have is you get your silence to help you out, or the mid laner to help you out, especially since this is such a major objective, right? Like, and it's a team-based team-based gold buff and shield, so you really should try and help out your team wherever possible. So here I predicted that, you know, people are missing, just managed to get out in time. I'm just gonna ignore that. I'm not gonna even try to take the risk. Just managed to escape live. So I get a bit lucky here, but also not quite enough damage from the enemy team, so I do manage to get out this time. So our team is focusing the efforts on top lane, which kind of makes sense. It's okay if you want to focus either top or bot, because in either case I'm winning, right? And I can pretty much hold my own as Yu Zhong. It's very difficult to kill this guy in lane, unless you basically have like people to come in like, even before he gets his passive up on against so many people. And for the case of Moskov in top lane, right, in their duo lane, so to speak, it makes a lot of sense to try and get him out, because he scales really well. So you want to prevent that, especially in the early game, to delay his power spike, so to speak. So you can see here I'm just dueling against the Alpha, and he pretty much has nowhere to go once again, setting on a Petrify to lock him in place for one more auto, as well as a little bit of damage. And I do manage to get a kill.
I don't give a damn if the world is against me.
So obviously the argument for getting ganks onto this lane where we're winning is simply because we can win harder in this lane and do a lot more, right? So that's definitely a consideration. As for us, well, I was able to pressure along, and even with the gank, since Edith is the jungle, we don't really have that much pushing power. Just like Yu Zhong doesn't have a lot of pushing power, it's more like team fighting. But if I can keep alpha out of it and just keep farming up, it's fine as well. I don't want to give him the chance to take our towers for free, because he can actually take towers a lot faster than I can. Our team is doing quite well in top lane. They have been snowballing pretty hard, and the next step for them really is just to get the tower. Although the problem is it's a little bit hard for them to budge, and Edith once again gets caught out, pushed into tower, and now this is a little bit concerning, right? So we do manage to get the tower, yes. Velma has come to play, and Melissa doesn't seem like not much you can do. Does manage to get away. And here, it's kind of funny, I should have stayed to show how this has played out, but yeah, when you're ahead, realistically speaking, you just keep winning your lane, and yet another kill for me onto this alpha, which, well, if you're behind the lane, general advice is don't try anything funny, don't try to duel your opponent, because your opponent is really strong. And obviously you can try and bait, especially if like your teammate is coming to help, your jungler or mid laner. But in a lot of cases, the risks are not even worth it. So Kagura actually that should dodge out all the passive, and here I made a mistake, right? So I was greedy. I was trying to get another stack on my passive, and because of that I ended up dying because I already used my third skill for the engage. So that was a good game from the main team. A little bit of a transition of pace here, and they do manage to get our tower, so it's 1-1. Our team really needs to try and open up the map a little bit more, trying to go for. So Edith has comes in, looking for the damage. Do manage to get the alpha, but there's no surprise here because he's been beaten up by me in lane so often that he just can't really help much in team fights. Once again, the issue really is how we're gonna advance our map dominance. And it seems like our SV has become the branch of I got changed CC there. Nothing much I can do really. But dodge the stun and the knockback. That was not very good on our end. And obviously our Estes got caught earlier, which is terrible again. Which is annoying. Trying to do a lot of poke here and there, but really at this point, even though we can see that we are kind of ahead in terms of kills, but the goal lead is basically non-existent at this point, and it's dangerous for us, especially if Alpha, or especially if Estes keeps getting caught that way. So if you position it well, you can basically end up with not too many issues. I try and get out, and I do manage to do so. I'm gonna come back take a look, really, realistically speaking. And Edith does manage to get a lot. And we do manage to get basically everybody, which is a great play by all of us. We're gonna push up one tower and go for the Lord. So obviously Edith doesn't have retribution anymore, but the whole of the enemy team is dead. Alpha just came back. The jungle is not ready. So we decided that this is a risk that is worth to take. And so we're gonna go all out. And we do get it just before Moscow's arrow strikes through. Interesting out choice by Xavier. And now we're just gonna wait for a moment for our lore to come out. charges out mid lane. So what we should ideally do is to try and split out our forces. Here probably our team, well, Edith got pinned under the wall. Nothing much can do. Edith, at this time, the heal. You wanted to do something, probably in this case over ambitious yet again. Like losing a team member in the fight kind of means you try and get out if possible, and that was really a risk I shouldn't have taken. Obviously, I should have helped, but I felt that feeling that I was able to fight. You see a lot of our bell spell being used. We shouldn't even be involved in this fight at this point, or even be attempting to skirmish. We basically have 3 range champions who are very, very vulnerable, just trying to poke out the enemy team. So after that fight, obviously I was concerned because Moscow is doing a lot of damage. Akai comes in with the spin once again. He does pin somebody, but it seems we have the upper hand at this point, and we get the Moscow with a nice flip by Edith. And so that was great. But actually what I wanted to do initially was just push out the wave. And I guess in part I wanted to help out teamfight as well. Otherwise it seemed a little bit risky. And that's kind of why we haven't been advancing or pushing in terms of taking out towers and objectives. So that's definitely where we can improve on. Try my best to take out the tower, just take it out first, do some damage, step back, and it seems our team kind of gets decimated in some way. The Melissa is gone, but I do manage to get the Moscow first and then the Kagura, but you see always turning out to the back line to make sure that they're fine. And we can't really do much more than this realistically. But it was a good, decent fight, even though Melissa killed. I did manage to isolate the Moscow away, just dive full on them. And with that, we took down one of the inhibitors, which is really crucial, and put ourselves in a pretty decent spot to try and take one more. Took some damage, knockup bouncing this entire round. And not quite enough to get him, unfortunately. Try and take out this tower. I do manage to get it in the end. And I stack even more passive onto this alpha, getting more damage. I'm trying to get this Belmont as well. I take a lot of damage. Maybe I could have continued, but of course I would have died, and I wasn't sure if my team was able to pull up. And now Melissa is actually soloing the Lord, which is fine because we basically locked everyone in the enemy base there. Here I actually completed my items that are kind of core to this fight. Cross helmet comes out early for tank Yu Zhong to help you clear the wave. This was the damage on the enemy team because we don't have damage when we full tank. That's for that one item. He managed to knock out the Akai, he still managed to push there, and that is nice. And he managed to use my ultimate, and I stack onto the alpha and then we go forward. Petrify coming in, not quite enough, and Kagura actually does get to kill me even though I stack my passive, so a little bit too much again over there, and our team's trying our best to see what we can do, and so, if we don't really get the Moscow out, we can't really help. Our team is trying our best here, but not quite enough. Moscow does manage to. A lot of damage comes in. Edith just barely manages to survive, and that's not quite enough for us then. So it's a little bit annoying. because we were pretty close, and actually if our team managed to focus onto the marksman there, we probably had a chance to end. But it wasn't too big of an issue for us. We decided to play a little bit safe, as you normally will if you play in a public lobby. It is a duo queue, right? So it makes sense to play a bit conservative and try not to make crazy stuff happen. So here we're gonna try to take the enemy buff, and Moskov actually got on Melissa at this point, so which is terrible, right? But I saw this opportunity to go for this Moskov right here, so I'm just gonna go all in on him. I take a lot of damage, but with my blade armor, I'm actually not quite afraid. I do manage to land all stacks and just manage to survive. So we immediately manage to turn on the fight. I'm super low, but the passive comes online as I step back, and we have one more shot trying to go for it. Knockup comes into the knockup, and that's one of those fun combos you can do with Yu Zhong, right? As well as Edith, right? So really one of my favorites. And eventually it was kind of a close match, because we did manage to give the enemy team time to scale up, and there was a little bit of difficulty for us to target the Moscow. But eventually it kind of worked out in the end. You can see my last item was Twilight Armor. The damage from Kagura wasn't too major, and so I wanted to be able to do a little bit more, and Twilight Armor kind of scales off in terms of damage based on your HP. So that's a pretty decent defensive item to add in if you want to play a defensive champion here. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. That was pretty much a close fight. I would say pretty decent plays by the enemy team, especially in terms of they're engaged by Akai's and Belmont, and as well as decent positioning from Moskov. We really kind of faced a little bit of a challenge here, but overall we fortunately managed to prevail, locking down enemy targets right there, even though our marksman died first. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was quite the thriller, not only when I was rewatching this, but also when I was playing. I hope you guys enjoyed as well, and I'll see you guys in the next one.